Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, which inequality represents the graph below? So let's underline or let's highlight my first word, that is inequality. So once I see the word inequality, then I gotta start thinking about some symbols, right? And those symbols will be the ones that you see on my answer choices, not the equal sign, right? That will be only for an equation. Now, before I start trying to match my graph with any of the answer choices, what about if we analyze the graph? Because there's some things in the graph that can actually help you maybe eliminate some of the answer choices, right? Or maybe even match faster your equation once I know these features, right? So first of all, what about if we look at the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept, remember, is the point where my line, in this case the dashed line, is crossing the y. And it's crossing it at a point that I can see somewhere over here. Is that right? What point is that? I think that's a 6. Very good. So my y-intercept, and I'm going to write it right here, it's B, and that's my y-intercept. Okay? That's the number one thing that I want to notice. Second, let's circle the highest point of this dash line. It's pointing to the left. If it points to the left, what does that mean about the slope? It means that my slope is negative. So let me write it down over here. So there's two things that I can see right now. Number one, the slope is negative. Number two, the y-intercept, which is B, it's a positive 6. Now what about the dash line? If my inequality, if my graph for the inequality has a dash line, and I'm going to point to that one, what kind of symbol goes with the dash line? Only two symbols, right? It can be the symbol less than or greater than. Very good. Not the one with a little line underneath. The one with a little line underneath, which means equals, it will go only when the line is a solid line, not a dash line. Okay? Now, what kind of numbers are shaded compared to the 6, which is my y-intercept? Are the numbers shaded above or below? The numbers are going to be below. Exactly. So if it's below, then I got to think about what symbol? The symbol will need to be the one that reads less than. But again, the symbol less than will be used only and only if your y is by itself. Not like just right now, and I go and I look at the symbols that are less than, even though my x and my y are on the same side. Okay, so be careful with that. Any questions on that? So what do I mean by my equation? My inequality then is going to look something like this. When the y is by itself, I'm going to find the symbol that says less than. I am going to need some kind of slope that is a negative slope. Is that right? And my y-intercept is a plus 6. Okay? Now, I left the line empty because I do not know my slope yet. But I do know that it needs to be a less than. So this is the skeleton of my inequality. Okay? My symbol needs to be less than. And my y-intercept needs to be a positive 6. And my slope needs to be negative. I can gather all that information just by looking at the graph. So let's start with my inequalities. I'm going to start with answer choice A. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my inequality. And I'm going to solve for y. Which means I want to leave y by itself. So we're going to follow the same steps as if it was an equation. So I'm going to take away 2 x's on both sides. The 2 x's are going to cancel, and I got negative y. I am going to place a 1 right in front of the y because later on I'm going to need to do something, and I need to make sure that you understand that when there's no number, it means a 1. The symbol, bring it down, And another thing that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to switch my terms. So my 2x, which is negative, is going to come to the front, and the 6 is going to stay last, okay? Just because I want to make it look more like my equation that I wrote on the bottom. Now, the next thing that I need to do is I need to get rid of the negative 1. I am going to divide by negative 1. Each term on my right needs to be divided by negative 1. And hopefully you remember that anytime that you divide or multiply by a negative number, my symbol needs to switch, right? So the negative 1 cancels out, and my symbol is going to switch to the greater than. Negative 2 divided by a negative 2 is a positive, and 6 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 6. So take a look at that and take a look at my answer choices over here. Does that look like the y-intercept is a positive 6? No, right here, my y-intercept is a negative 6. So can my answer be A? No, that cannot be my answer. Okay, what about B? Am I going to do all the process for B, or can I eliminate B right now? I'm hoping that we can identify the symbol right now for letter B as something with an equal sign. And I do not want to choose anything with an equal sign because I have a dash line, not a solid line. Therefore, B cannot be my answer. Let's move down to the next one then. How about C? And I'm going to write down C right here. So C is 2x plus y greater than 6. We're going to follow the same steps. I need to get rid of the 2x's. So I'm going to remove or take away 2x's on both sides. The 2x's cancel each other, and I ended up with y greater than, and I'm going to switch my terms again. And this is what I got. Okay. Now, I do see the plus 6, which is my y-intercept. So that's okay. I do see the negative slope, which is something that I need. But what's wrong with my problem? This symbol means greater than. Is that the symbol that I was looking for? No, the symbol that I'm looking for is less than, because my inequality is shaded below. Okay, so it cannot be letter C. Let's go to the next one. So apparently letter D is the answer. So let's check and confirm that that's my answer. This is D. Let's write down the inequality. It's 2x plus y less than 6. Don't just go for that and say, oh, Miss, that's the answer. Remember, we need to leave y by itself. So I'm going to take away 2x's on both sides. Okay, my 2x's are going to cancel each other, and I ended up with y less than. I am going to swap the terms, remember? So I'm going to bring the 2x's to the front, bring the symbol with it. So that's the negative 2x plus 6. Let's analyze that and compare it to the one that I did earlier. I do see the y-intercept as a positive 6, which is right here. Okay, I do see the negative slope, which is right here. That's supposed to be negative. And the symbol, it is less than. So everything checks with my inequality. So my answer should be letter D for that one.